You're listening to Remotely We Are One, a podcast to help inspire others to take their lives back from the office commute. I'm Rick, a passionate beer rep who loves the industry but hates the commute.
And I'm Kaleem, a remote work advocate and consultant. We're going to speak with some of the top professionals who have managed to avoid the commute as they share stories from the most inspiring to the most comical, all while working remotely.
Man, this sounds exciting. Let's clock in.
What's your favorite beer?
Wow, I might be here a while. I would say probably Left Hand Milk Stout out of Colorado.
Okay.
Nice. You're a milk stout person. That's impressive. Yeah. And first off, I'm a little disappointed we've never had this conversation. So thank you so much, Leah. Leah,
do you know each other?
We're going to have words after this.
Yeah, so I'm a stout guy. I can't stand the hoppy stuff. I feel like I'm drinking dandelions. So like hopology or anything like that, it tastes like dandelions. So I can't hang at all. So I am a stout, 100% stout drinker. And most breweries do not have very many selections of stouts when you go. There's a few breweries that will, like there's one in Atlanta that has all stouts, like Nitro and all these, love it.
Well, nitros are good for me because they're not overly carbonated and they're a lot smoother, I think.
Listen, I'm going to say it. I hate stouts.
Okay.
Can't do it. Can't do it.
I get it. It's heavy.
Well, it was a pleasure meeting with you, Leah.
Have a nice day.
Take care now.
No, the hoppier, the better. I want it to taste like pine needle forest in my mouth.
There it is. There it is.
Make me feel like I'm walking through the woods up home,
Exactly. I want that.
You're like doing like the Merry Christmas thing all the time when you're drinking it. That's
well,
great.
I've just now been able to tolerate the hoppy stuff, and I don't mind it. I just know that my palate is not moving away from the stouts. So,
listen, Rick, you have to live your authentic truth. So
there it is. There it is.
Welcome back, everyone, to Remotely We Are One. I am your humble host, Rick, joined as always by my esteemed colleague, Kaleem. Hey, Kaleem.
What's up, dude?
I'm pretty excited about this show. What can you tell us about our guest?
I am super excited. I'm trying very, very hard not to laugh. We've just been cracking up for the past 20 minutes already. So hopefully we can continue that energy. But today's guest, she was a public school teacher in New York City from 2005 to 2009. Thank you for your service. She's from Cincinnati, Ohio. So she loves the Bengals.
Today.
Funny thing, she hates it when people chew gum. It's the sound.
Understandable.
I can't do it.
Understandable.
I'm gonna do it for one time. I hope you all love that.
Really.
Way to kick
You're
it off.
You're proving my point.
She is the Director of Talent and Acquisition at Help Scout. Everybody, please welcome Leah Knobler.
Leah!
Oh, thank you.
No.
Welcome to the show.
You're not my sister. You're not my sister. I didn't kiss my sister.
Okay, that's a Star Wars joke for anyone who's not aware. We need some context with that.
Sorry about that. I had to do something.
He couldn't help himself.
He couldn't. It's fine. He's not alone. I get a Star Wars comment or joke probably once a day. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you've never heard those one-liners anyway, right?
No, I say it myself. In email, I spell out my name phonetically, and then I always write in parentheses, like the princess. And it helps.
Oh,
it helps.
Well, that works.
Super helps.
Yeah. So, Leah, if you would, just give us kind of a brief backstory or history of, how did you first get involved, or what turned you on to remote work in the first place?
Well, it was totally by accident and just a twist of fate. I had no idea. If you asked me 10 years ago, 15 years ago, would I be a thought leader on remote work? I would be like, I don't know what you're talking about. So as Kaleem mentioned, I grew up in the education world, public school teacher. Then I worked in higher education administration and basically kind of had a turning point moment a decade in after that of just like, who am I? What am I doing? Is this really the best use of my skills? Am I passionate about what I'm doing? And all the answers were no. And I decided to kind of work backwards and say, all right, well, what do I want to be doing? Well, I want to work somewhere where people care about what they're doing. It's fast paced. We use technology and people are having fun and trying new things and not afraid of change. And I stumbled onto the Help Scout company blog and just started reading about this little software company that was remote first and doing all these interesting things that I'd never heard of. And I just said, I have to work here. And I basically just stalked them and their career page until they had a people ops role. And I was like reading it, and it just felt like my soul opened up, like the heavens parted, and you heard that, the harp music. And I said, basically, exactly. And I was like, everything I've been doing in education for the past decade is so translatable to this field and to the way I think about things and my philosophies. And I convinced them that they should hire me. And luckily they did. It was sort of right place, right time. And I was about, the 20th person at Help Scout. And as of today, we are 140 with people all over the world.
Fantastic.
Congratulations. That's amazing. So what year was it that you first started stalking them?
Ooh, must have been late 2014, early 2015.
And they were already marketing themselves as remote first.
Yeah, Help Scout started as a remote company. That's been in our DNA from day one, kind of before it was the norm. So that's been a huge actual asset for us. But yeah, it's great. We were ahead of the curve, and I can't imagine ever changing.
Did you find that change to be challenging at first, where you came from more of a traditional role?
Yeah, so I was definitely nervous about this, right? Being a classroom teacher, then working at a university. I never worked from home a day in my life. And if you can't tell yet, I identify as an extrovert. So I was very nervous what this would look like and what this would mean. But when a remote company does remote work well, it's a great environment for all kinds of people, even folks who are social. And we were just really intentional from day one about creating those, social interactions and moments in a remote way that I never felt like I was missing anything, and learned to actually really love it. And again, as I said, I can't imagine working in an office. That feels wildly overwhelming and distracting if I think about it now.
Yeah. Seems to be a good spot for us to drop our favorite term, cube farm, Kaleem.
Yeah. Yeah. I think cube farm is going to make it now, Rick. I think we're bringing it out. I
like that.
It's just, let me just go in there and work out of my cube farm, and we'll just keep farming these cubes. I don't think that's going to happen moving forward, Rick. I think cube farm is going to get outdated very quickly. Leah, I actually got a question kind of, rewinding a little bit back to when you were making that transition. Could you think about some of the things that you may have had challenges with in the beginning? Because, we're hoping that there are some listeners out there that have been working remotely and are thinking, hey, I've been doing this for a while, I want to get into it. Can you maybe talk about some of those things that you had challenges with, and maybe some ideas that you used to overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, of course. Let's see. So this was about 6 and change years ago. But I remember one of the striking things was you have to be really used to working independently and kind of managing your own time and kind of staying on track. And no one is, standing over your shoulder or coming down to your cube farm area and saying, hey, this thing is due. You have to really step up and be like, okay, I'm going to be sort of the boss of my own time and do and work and have people trust me. And then I think it's that piece combined with, how do I show people in a remote way that I'm actually working and I'm delivering and doing things? And I think you just really have to lean into over communicating and just it might not feel, it'll feel weird at first. And I remember thinking, do I need to say all this? And I'm talking, and so we've always used Slack. So just being really intentional in Slack about sharing your work, sharing progress. For a while, we used to do weekly stand-ups where you kind of talk about what it is you're working on, just thinking of all sorts of ways to be really intentional with your communication about what you're working on. And then I think that with just leaning into being your own boss of your time helps you adjust and adapt, and you start to get used to it. Whereas I think, in the office, you're just used to all these cues around you to be like, oh, it's work time, or oh, we're going to the kitchen together, or oh, it's a meeting, let's all walk to the end of the hall. You kind of develop those own cues that make sense for you when you're at home. You have your own routines, and it's so nice. Like, I start my day, I make my iced chai, I take the dog out, and then I'm like, okay, it's time to start, the first morning chunk of work. And then I, go an hour or two, and then I'm like, all right, it's time to take a little break. I'm going to, stretch my legs, go kiss my baby in the other room, like do a couple other things, maybe throw in a little laundry. And I'm like, all right, come back. And now I have a string of meetings on Zoom back to back. There's ways you start to manage your own time, and it feels so much more freeing and more expansive. Actually, you get a lot more done both at work and in your own life.
Wow.
Yeah, I see that
great.
for sure.
Yeah.
See that for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I got up this morning, and I didn't do it today, but yesterday, got up and worked out. Had a nice long workout, and then went for a walk. Just decided, I'm just gonna go for a walk. The day can escape you. That's one thing that I would definitely give some advice to people. If you enjoy what we call work-life integration, integrating those things throughout the day, because there's X amount of hours that you're awake, and you have to achieve all sorts of things when you're awake. I tend to do better when I get up early. I tend to have a better day if I get up about 5 o'clock and try to. You're gonna be used to that.
I know.
You'll get used to that real soon. Don't worry.
It's happening. Actually, the baby sleeps till 7 now, so I feel really
Congratulations.
lucky. Thank you.
That's luck right there. Well, not luck. That's good stuff. But yeah, I try to get up early so that I can get ahead on, some of the tasks that you do during the day, and then that way you have a little bit more freedom throughout the day.
Well, and when you're not spending up to an hour commuting, you can do a lot of stuff in that time. It's pretty freeing.
It really is.
I think that's the second or third time I've heard the term freeing today. And I think there's no better term for that, especially for people who are kind of stuck in the traditional income earning mindset. I'm actually at the moment, I'm kind of a hybrid. I've got some customers that are fine with me just sending them a text or an email or whatever, but I also have some higher volume customers that will not buy a thing from me unless they see my face in their store once a week. I would consider that hybrid, but it's also very freeing to know that, I can go see them whenever I want on my time. But again, I'm still in the traditional mindset, so that's why I'm hoping to breaking free of it altogether is my goal.
So Leah, you're in talent acquisition. You've been doing this for a while now. And I know that your perspective, from Help Scout is the perspective of a remote first company. So I do understand that. But from all of the things that we've all been reading together, our nice little remote work community, with all the things that we've been reading and you've been seeing, where are some of the bigger challenges that you're noticing in talent acquisition?
Yeah, I can speak obviously from firsthand experience for, the tech industry or the computer software world, but just the competition for talent is like I've never seen before. And you look on LinkedIn for 1 second and you see everyone talking about the competition for talent at the same time that the Great Resignation, everyone's reshuffling, everyone's taking new jobs and leaving old jobs. So it's just kind of this like frantic pace of change that's just new. It'll be interesting to see if that kind of staves off a little bit but then I imagine Q1 of 2022 it might explode again. We'll see, but definitely right now it's just fast paced. Like people are making moves and starting new jobs like every time I open LinkedIn. And then, like as I said, the competition has gone up, right? It's a limited talent pool. I think I've been hearing and reading that like so many companies have raised money this past year and everyone's trying to hire, and there's only so many people to hire in this space. So it gets intense. And I think as a result of that, we've seen this ripple effect of compensation is all over the place. Salaries have increased across the board as a way to just beat out other folks for candidates. And then it just kind of throws off everyone's comp data because, whatever it was 8 months ago is outdated now. And so I think everyone's trying to play catch up or outdo each other, but that, can't last forever. So I'm really curious to see if that will balance out again. Yeah. So I think those are sort of the top of mind things for us. And then just as a result, certain roles are definitely taking longer than they ever have before to fill. I think candidates expect more, which I personally think is a good thing. I think, companies need to step up, and a lot of companies were slacking on this. And now with this intense competition, you can't slack. You have to really have something to excite a candidate with. And if not, they're going to go elsewhere. So that kind of thing excites me. But then the other thing too we've noticed is folks want a longer time in between leaving their job and starting a new one, which I get. Everyone is tired. Everyone wants a break. Really? Everyone wants that vacation. And usually, you expect someone gives 2 weeks notice and then maybe takes a week, 2 weeks, maybe starts. We've had a lot of folks who are like, no, I'll see you in January or things like that. And I get it. And again, we'll wait especially for folks we hire who are fantastic. Yeah, it might seem like an issue up front to be like, all right, I guess we have to wait, but it's worth it. It's always worth it. And it's good to have folks start feeling refreshed and also grateful for you that you gave them the time they asked for. So It's a really interesting time, to say the least.
That's great.
Jeez, I never thought about the pay bands. That's a really fascinating science. And so now we're going to tap into that a little bit because you brought it up. You brought up pay bands. So
let's do it.
What's your thoughts on remote work pay based on location? That's a touchy subject right there.
Not for me. Help Scout has a very strong stance on this that I love. Okay. Thanks to our CEO, Nick Francis.
Before you answer, let me give some context quick, just in case somebody doesn't know. So the question I asked Leah is, how does she feel about being paid based on location? Now, what that means is some people you've seen in the news, and if you haven't, basically, if you live in San Francisco, you get paid $100,000, let's just say, that same job, same role, same task, same everything. And then you move to, let's just say, Maine. And that pay gets chopped down to $75,000 or maybe even less because the cost of living is less in Maine. Google attempted to start a pay calculator, and people were really upset. Basically, you could see how much you could make in different areas. So that's the question that we're talking about, the context that we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So as I was saying, leading from our CEO, Nick Francis, Help Scout firmly believes equal pay for equal work. If you're a software engineer in San Francisco or you're a software engineer in Maine or Iowa or other places, you're doing the same job, you should be paid the same. Hard stop. I also ascribe to that. I think that makes sense. I don't think we should get into the business of telling people or making judgments about where people live and their cost of living. If that's their choice and they're able to live somewhere or not able to live somewhere, I don't think that's any of a company's business. You're doing the same job, they should be paid the same. And you don't know what's going on in people's lives, or just because they live in Maine, maybe they're taking care of like extended family members and have all these other financial responsibilities that, again, are not our business as the employer. So I just think the same job on the same team, it's doing the exact same things, or should be paid the same. And then I know there are people who get upset, and then they're like, well, that's just throws everything off and it makes it complicated, and that doesn't scale, and like, how, what? And I'm like, yeah, it could. You just.
What are your thoughts on that, Rick? It's definitely a interesting topic. I want to wait to give my opinion on that one.
Well, for me, I'm in agreement with Leah on this. I think that people are hired to do a job, and they should be paid accordingly no matter where they are. And I think there's no other argument to be made, in my opinion.
I just think that it's a lot more complicated than that. I think the unintended consequences, I just think that there's a lot of things that go into that could really impact kind of economy and society. For example, if you're in a government agency, you get a different per diem based on where you're going. If you are going to have lunch in Bangor, Maine compared to Boston, Massachusetts, you're going to have a different level. So some people's locations aren't by choice. Some people are stuck in higher cost of living areas, not by choice.
But you wouldn't pay them less, right? I think that's the point, is you don't have a choice. People don't have a choice where they live. So why would you change their pay accordingly?
I think that's a very good point. I think when you're talking about, hey, you've been working for the company for X amount of years and I plan on moving, I do feel like that I'm not going to say is a little bit different, but I do understand why people get paid more in San Francisco versus more in New York, because at the same time, you are talking about different levels of disposable income. And I know that the company's not necessarily giving you compensation for that, and you have to manage your own bills, but it may not be fair to that person in San Francisco now, because basically to eat a hamburger in San Francisco, I pay X dollars. To eat a hamburger here, I pay $7 on the $10, and now I actually have more disposable income than the other person in the exact same job. So I just feel like it's such a difficult challenge. I just don't know
That's very
what
true.
is necessarily the right answer, because it's not fair the other way. It's kind of like, hey, I have to make this much amount of money to just barely live in San Francisco. Why is this position living like a king in Idaho? Well, you could move to Idaho if you want. Well, I can't move to Idaho because of A, B, and C.
But if you're benchmarking your pay to San Francisco rates, the person in San Francisco is good, and the person in Idaho
is even better.
But you don't know that. What if they could be paying off incredible student loans or all these other things. I think it's making a lot of assumptions about what people have in their life, and where, again, I just think it shouldn't be in the business of the employer to try to assume who has more disposable income and base it on that. I think, to me, it's like, all right, decide what city or market rate your company's comp philosophy is going to be centered around, and then pay everyone everywhere based on that.
Right.
And if you talk about it and people know going into it, they'll either want to work for you or they won't.
That's it.
And that's fine.
I think that's the key. And that's why I liked Buffer's salary calculator preferably over the Google one, because they created theirs first a long time ago. It was something that you looked at before you applied. So you could see what your salary would be in San Francisco, what your salary would be in Idaho, and you could kind of change it and stuff like that. So I love that topic. It's such a difficult thing to talk about.
And people are sharply divided. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, I'm on the team of, I don't have a problem paying different rates as long as I know those different rates up front. You can't take people's money away, though. If I live in San Francisco and you hired me in San Francisco and then I decide to move somewhere else, I feel like that's difficult.
So, Leah, if you don't mind me asking, in your role, you see a lot of people of various levels of talent with a lot of different skills and histories and whatnot. Of all those people, do you see a lot of them who are first-timers in the remote work industry? And what kind of guidance do you give to people who really want this to work in this environment, but just have all kinds of levels of skill and backgrounds that they just don't know where to start? What advice can you give them?
The roles we hire for typically are more on the senior end, just of our size. I think as we continue to get bigger, we're working on spreading out the leveling of roles and really wanting to try to help create more, entry level positions. We just aren't really able to right now due to the nature of size and where we're at. But we did used to see more folks, I think, who are senior, but just were used to the office. This is pre-pandemic. And we always said working remotely is not a requirement for us, because especially back, before the pandemic, it was rare. We always just over-indexed on the skills we think it takes to make someone successful in a remote environment, and really tried to interview and assess whether someone has the makings to make it, essentially. And we were just said, we want people who are just excited about remote work. We'll teach you, we'll help you get accustomed. So now, of course, I think more folks applying have had a taste of remote work. Either their company was actually remote or they were pandemic remote people. There's a huge pool of those folks. But what's interesting about those, I think, is oftentimes they're trying to apply to us or other companies because pandemic remote wasn't good enough, or their company had no idea what they were doing, or they didn't figure it out fast enough, or they still suck at figuring it out. So they now know they love working from home, but they want to try to do it at a company that has their crap together, trying to keep it PG-13 out there.
Yeah, we got to rewind. We got to go back and do that part over. They got to get this shit together, Leah. This is a podcast. This is not a family podcast. I know you got babies in the other room. Shh. Be quiet, Kaleem. Shh. Anyway, yes, please bring the ruckus.
All right. A lot of companies need to get their shit together. I'll just say that.
There it is. Home run.
No.
Home run.
I do have a potty mouth too, so I'm surprised it didn't just come out. I'm trying to be intentional.
You're up there in Boston.
Side. Yeah. Up in
I don't believe
harbor.
for a second you don't know how to swear up there in Boston.
Yeah, wicca pissa.
Yeah. I got to get over to, let's
Tommy.
cut the shit. I got to get over to Cappy's Liquors on 128.
Oh, no.
Hey, you sound like you're from Boston.
Well, he spent some time in there. I was out there in Worcester for like 8 years, just in that Worcester, Mass, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'm dating myself, but I will say on my way home, back to my apartment, I'd have a late afternoon class, and I would take the Green Line to Kenmore Square and buy a Red Sox ticket at Fenway Park for $12, and the park would be practically empty. And now you don't get anything. You can't get water at Fenway Park for $12.
You definitely can't. You definitely can't. So, Leah, go kind of circling back to what you were talking about as far as advice for newer people going remote.
Yeah.
Is there anything specific from a talent standpoint that if somebody says, hey, I haven't done this yet, or we were doing this before and I like it, but I would prefer to work around people, does Help Scout offer any options for people who just want to be around people?
Mm-hmm. We offer a co-working stipend. So if folks want to rent a desk at a, community place, or if WeWork still exists in your town, we offer a stipend for that. Certainly. I will say though, the majority of the folks don't use it. It's a very small amount of folks who choose to actually be like, yeah, I want to leave the house a couple times a week. And I think it's mostly folks in, the major cities who maybe don't have as comfortable a home office setup as others. Yes. So yeah, people can get their human fix if they need it.
See, that's really amazing. And you can tell that Help Scout has been thinking a lot about this, because one of the things that we talk a lot about at Blend is that remote work allows for the possibility of inclusion and diversity to increase. Mm-hmm. Especially, I always use the example of Maine being the whitest state in the country. That's a true stat, everybody. Maine is actually the whitest state in the country. And for a company in Maine to be diverse, it's difficult. You're hiring from your population that you serve right there. With remote work, it does allow the opportunity to hire from different locations. You're no longer location dependent. You're now location independent. But there are different challenges for different underserved populations, or just any population. And I think some of the things that you just mentioned as far as providing stipends, I'm assuming, do you guys also provide equipment stipends for people to
home office setup? Yep. Everyone gets a laptop as well. And
so that's great. So it's really, I'm just saying this to people out there, if you're thinking about going remote and you want to increase your diversity and inclusion and attract different people from different backgrounds, we like to say culture add, you have to have some of those things in place, because everyone's living situation is different. It's really important to think about. Mm-hmm. All right, well, moving on to the most important part of this podcast. We got to hear some stories now. All right, so it's the stories. So we need to hear. Can you tell us about a comical or an inspiring moment that you had while working remotely? And be sure to kind of really walk us through this moment so our listeners can really get a full taste of what's going on here.
Sure. So I was thinking on this, and I think one that really came to mind was when the pandemic really hit full effect, 2020. We were 10 days out from going on our company retreat in person to Dublin, Ireland. And with 10 days out, we had to make the really hard call to cancel it. And our company retreats are everything to us, right? We love being a remote company, but twice a year, historically, we get together for a week. So this was really painful. And also the news of the pandemic was painful, and things were just really hard. But we came together, we regrouped, and we put on our first ever virtual company retreat in 10 days. So first, that was already like a hustle, but we made it happen, and I think it went really well. But my story is from the second time we did this, that fall of 2020. So we took all the learnings from the first one and just made it even better. And the moment that I thought was really special was at the time we had a, company award that was given to like one person on every team. And we wanted a cool way to present this remotely. We're not in person, so we can't make it fun and give things out and make it a whole pep rally moment. And so I came up with this idea like, okay, I do a lot of stuff with video at Help Scout. I'm self-taught video editor. I love making videos that make people excited and, feel connected.
Great.
So
they're hilarious. Check it out.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So I said, let's make this an award show. And Matt Plays, one of my teammates on our brand design team, who's brilliant and talented. I was going to make him be my co-host, and we both bought those green screens that, you put on your chair behind you. Yeah. And I said, Matt, I'm shipping you a bow tie. We're going to dress black tie and pretend we're hosting like the Oscars. And we are going to make a video where we're like emceeing these awards. And so then I asked all of our team leads who are presenting the awards to dress up and to record a short video. And they have to put a name in like any kind of envelope they want. But part of the video, they have to open the envelope and make it part of the thing and look surprised, read the name. And then they give the little spiel about like why this person won the award. And so everyone sent me these clips. I edited it all together. I took a bunch of different clips from Emmys, Oscars, Tonys of celebrities, sitting in the audience clapping. And
well done. This is exciting, by the way.
Yeah, after each, one, I added a couple of those shots, so it looked really funny. And I had overplaying the whole thing, like the Academy Award music, which was like a string quartet, like really triumphant feeling, building, racing music. So the best part I thought of this was I decided, I don't know if you've heard of Cameo, but this is a fabulous, weird company that you can pay money and different celebrities will record you a message.
Okay.
Big fan. It's such a modern creation of weird, but I paid and requested Carson Kressley, if you know who he is, of, back in the day, original Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. He's been a host on RuPaul's Drag Race. He's a riot. He's a riot. So you're able to give like a very small paragraph of what you want them to say. And so I basically just was able to explain, this is awards for our company. You're introducing us as MCs, Matt and Leah, and I had to spell my name phonetically because otherwise he would have been like Leah and it would have been horrible. Right. And I had no idea if he'd do it or how good it would be. 2 days go by and I get the email. He is, done. My cameo has been completed. And I watch it and it was perfect. Like he's in the trailer on set somewhere, speaking to his phone camera, introducing Matt and I, gets my name right. He just riffs and improvs and makes it so funny. And it was just like the perfect intro. So I add that to the beginning of the video and then you cut to, and it's Matt and I, and we're in different locations because, it's the pandemic. But with the green screen, we were able to like stitch it together and make it look like we were side by side. And, he and I role played some banter, introducing the show, having fun with each other, and whole thing together. It was great. So during our company retreat, after Nick, our CEO, gave the like opening remarks and the business update, it's like, okay, it's time for the awards. And he shares the screen and hits play. And everyone, the chat just lights up. Everyone's like, oh my God, this is amazing. What is Carson Kressley doing here? Like, what is happening? And it just was like the best feeling. Everyone was just so pumped and laughing and thought it was really fun. And, I got tingles. I was just like, yes, I think everyone for that, like, it was a 12-minute video. I think everyone just really felt close together, even though it was, fall of 2020 was some of the worst moments of this pandemic, but it really brought us together, and I was really proud of that. And maybe I can share the link to the video in some show notes.
Yes, please do.
Please do.
I definitely want to see that.
I am so inspired by your creativity. What an awesome story.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm definitely going to steal the award show. I mean, come on, that's stolen. Might as well just consider me doing that tomorrow. Dun, 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 dun.
And I will say that Cameo is probably one of the greatest things I've ever seen on the internet. My cousins grew up with Monty Python because their father, they always teased my uncle about looking like John Cleese. And as he got older, even more so, right?
Who is John Cleese? I mean, you're just throwing out these old-timer names, bro. I mean, like,
you don't know who John Cleese is?
Yeah, who is
These are old white British people.
I mean, who are they? I mean, who are we talking about here? Is anyone in my family going to know who John Cleese is?
No.
If you don't, then probably not.
I'd get Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
I'm going to get Mike Tyson to do ours.
Oh, he would do it. He'd do it.
I'm going to get Tyson to do ours, yeah.
He'd be like easily $1,000, I bet, for him.
Yeah, probably.
You got to get like a weird C-level celebrity who's like, we'll do it for $50. That's the key.
Yeah.
That is cool. That's great. So, are you planning your retreat now? How many times?
Well, spoiler alert, we're getting together in person on Monday in Park City, Utah. So we're back after a 2+ year hiatus. We are coming together on Monday, and I am out of my mind excited.
What is it going to be? A costume party?
Yes, we're planning a low-key one where I think the parameters were you can only bring 3 things with you and like make that a costume.
I kind of like that idea. So no one's like stuffing their suitcase with these crazy costumes and stuff like that. Pretty cool idea.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Leah, thank you so much for being a part of our show today. We won't keep you any longer, but I've learned so much from you in the half hour that we've been talking, and I'm really thankful that you were able to join us. So where can we find you? Where can our listeners find you online, or your website, LinkedIn, social media?
Yeah. Always love some Twitter followers. So Leahs Knobler on Twitter. Reach out on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's always open if I'm on my computer, so you can find me there. LeahKnobler.com, all the things.
Awesome. Well, we would love to have you back sometime if you're willing.
Anytime.
Thank
Just
you
don't
so
chew
much.
gum.
I won't, I promise.
See you later. Thank you so much.
Leahs Knobler, thank you.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Remotely We Are One podcast. Visit us at remotely1.com/podcast for upcoming episodes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and download our episodes on your favorite podcast app.
Hey, don't forget to clock out.